we looking at that camera? Okay.
Yeah.
Middle one.
Welcome to this episode of Mainline Connect. I'm Jennifer Lynn Robinson, and my guests today are Sharon and Chris Pastore of the Mainline Family Law Center. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for
Thank
having
you
us.
so much for having us. Such a pleasure.
Thanks so much for coming on. So we like to start off the show with a networking topic, and obviously discuss some networking and marketing during our interview today. So one thing I wanted to ask about is, you guys are husband and wife. You started the center together. You run it together. Is there one of you that kind of plays a bigger role in the networking component of running your business and marketing your business?
Yeah, I would say that as Mainline Family Law Center, I'm more focused on the word center, and he's more focused on the law piece of it. So I think there's certain audiences that I'm able to reach that Chris might not be able to. As a mediator, part of his role is he has to remain neutral. So if he's actually out there talking to potential clients, it can actually be a detriment, which makes the mediation a little bit hard to market in a way, because as your personal self getting out there, because if one spouse would sort of meet him first, and the other spouse says, well, you talked to him already, then it's actually can be a little bit difficult for him to look more neutral. So it's actually important that someone else is out there in the community talking about mediation and the benefits of it as well.
Interesting. So I guess on that basis, you don't do much networking then?
Not from that standpoint. And when Sharon mentions that, it makes me think towards the beginning of when we first started this back in 2011, where we really on a wing and a prayer, and we had no staff, and so I was actually answering phones.
Okay.
Which I was happy to do, to get in there and kind of spread the word of what we do. And I realized after a while that it's probably not the best idea for the attorney mediator who may be working with these folks, this couple, in the future, to be answering phones. So thankfully we did find an administrative person to handle those tasks for us. But as Sharon said, that can be a very, very delicate issue, and it was something that we had to really kind of work against when we first started.
Yeah. So you do the majority of it then?
I would say so. I'm more out in the community focused, working, women's groups. I can get in and kind of just tell people what I do, and it's interesting because when I just say yes, we focus on a holistic, healthier approach to divorce, people open up and tell me their life story. And I'm just shocked at what people are willing to tell me, even in our networking, that it ends up, I hear a lot of times. And in fact, in the beginning of the business, I wasn't even going to be a part of the business at all.
Okay.
I was actually going to just help Chris get it off the ground, help with the website, and be on my way and go back to get a full-time job, because to have two spouses working together, running a business is kind of like, are you crazy in this day and age? One person can do it, and the other person needs a full-time job with benefits. So, but when I started to go out and network, especially in women's groups, I found that as soon as I would start to say what I did, people would be pulling me along saying, oh my God, you got to talk to this person, you got to talk to that person. And there was this kind of ripple effect, and I realized, gosh, you know what, I am really needed in this business, and I need to be out there communicating and helping people be more aware of their options. And I can do that. I'm uniquely qualified to do that. Even though, in the beginning, I guess I felt a little bit more like an imposter, because I'm not divorced. I don't have the divorce story. I also didn't have a background in law. People think I'm an attorney because they're not used to a law firm actually having someone out in the community talking about awareness around their options, kind of more of a social mission. They're just not used to that. So usually that's what I say to people when I first meet them. I say, I'm not an attorney. But, that's kind of, it's been an interesting journey for me in that way, because when I'm out there talking to people, I realize, gosh, that I need to be out there more and talking to folks about mediation as a more peaceful, less expensive option for separation and divorce.
Yeah, I think I'm an attorney as well, so I feel like as you get out there and practice, even though I'm not practicing anymore, you realize that only one aspect really is law, right? And some of it is being an advisor. You know, sometimes you feel like a therapist, a social worker. I mean, there's so many roles that you play as an attorney. And also I can see it, you know, from your perspective as well, where I think some people just unfortunately just have a mistrust of attorneys. So when you present yourself as a non-attorney, you know, I think that some people are just more willing to open up, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I've noticed that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
So the center, you know, the Mainline Family Law Center, you guys started in 2011, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. So what made you at that time, you were practicing before that, right? On your own, or?
With a regional mediation firm. So I had already been doing this kind of work with another firm.
So what made you pull the trigger in 2011?
Well, it's a great question. I answer this all the time. And really we have to date back to prior to 2007 when I was practicing privately in private divorce litigation firms. So although, as you pointed out, you know, the wonderful challenge and benefits to this practice and helping clients through a very, very tough, probably one of the most difficult transitions they'll ever face in their lifetime, I was drawn to the challenge of divorce law and the benefit you receive from helping people. But what was not working for me was going to court and the court process. And I began to notice and see over time that it was not the best option for many people. You know, I just knew that there were better ways, quicker, more efficient ways to get to the same end without having to expend all this time and resource and money and really affect children in this process in a negative way, because divorce can, you know, take a toll on the emotional health of children. We all know that. We hear that all the time, and it's absolutely true. So, you know, 2007, I found this option of mediation, and I was hooked ever since. I vowed never to set foot in a courthouse ever again. In 2007, I have not been there ever since.
Oh, really? So that's worked out.
That's right. Yeah. So it's worked out, thankfully. So finding mediation in 2007, kind of doing it for a little while, having the opportunity to get my feet wet, doing that exclusively, doing that and nothing else, not going to court, not representing clients, but just focusing on how I can help these families through mediation for about 4.5 years or so. And then in 2011, finding ourselves, what do we do next? You know, I knew that this was a passion of mine. I knew that I had to be doing this. So let's start our own thing. Let's create our own way, our own method, and let's do it on our own terms. And that's really was the impetus for us starting this business. Yeah.
Right. So when you started, I know you said you had been in the mediation field, you know, for a while. Did you have clients, or was it kind of you open the door and hope for the best?
No. We didn't have clients.
Okay.
No. And in fact, because he had come from another mediation firm, there was a non-compete. So we actually, you know, definitely started from the ground up. And one of the ways that we started, there's two main things that we did. Number one was we built a website that really was unique to what we wanted the brand to be, to speak more uniquely to people's heart, which is pretty unusual for a law firm, I think, to speak directly to people's heart and you know, and think about their kids immediately. They look at the site because, and I don't want to, and I know we're talking about networking, but I don't want to underestimate the fact that when people are figuring out whether you're going out and wanting to meet you, but there's a lot about they want to know who you are and have an understanding of your identity. So whether they want to work with you. So I felt it was really important for us to really spend time on the site and make it look really kind of, you know, just the way that we'd want to attract the right people to work with us. We didn't have any clients. So there was that. Then there was actually using Facebook ads.
Okay. Facebook ads. Okay.
Facebook ads. And I don't know how that sounds, but the fact that you could kind of find people based on their status and their area, geography,
income level,
was
I
a
guess,
way
right?
that, and also creating free downloadable content. So using what we call an inbound marketing methodology, which is essentially, you know, especially in the divorce business and any kind of transition, people are trying to they're lost and they need information, and they go to the internet first to try to answer their questions. So really thinking about what are the questions people are asking,
right.
And how do I do this in the best way possible? So creating content that helps people figure that out and get to know us at the same time. So that's kind of when I say Facebook ads, I meant there was free kind of, download this this guide, a free divorce guide kind of thing, which maybe nowadays is not like a unusual thing to do, but I think for a law firm to say, you know what, we're going to be generous and we're going to actually share information up front. That's a pretty unique way to kind of get in the game pretty quickly. So that was the second thing. And the third thing was we had a whole networking approach to going out and meeting a lot of therapists in the community. So we, kind of listed out therapists that we sort of researched and said, had a focus on separation and divorce or a specialty or seemed to care about that. And we reached out and really actually went out one by one and just met with therapists to, talk about our approach to separation and divorce, and here's some information to share with your clients. And that community is so receptive to what we're doing, because I really feel like, when a client, even though a lot of their approach is to try to, reconcile the marriage and see what can be salvaged, sometimes a marriage just can't be salvaged.
Right.
And the best thing to do is to separate or to divorce. And so to have a process where they felt like their work wasn't going to be sabotaged or undone, and that it was still a focus on preserving the relationship, and thinking about the kids in the process, and almost a foundation setting for the future rather than this looking like a failure. Just very responsive. And so that's really been a key part of our approach to getting off the ground so quickly. So I said we didn't actually network with attorneys very much, which is probably more of a standard that a law firm might do, but because we're a little bit we were more under the radar at first, because we just felt that therapists would be very responsive to what we're doing. Mediation is very misunderstood.
So let me stop you there, because I want to kind of go back to some of what you said. So I love that you started with marketing, and mentioning that you offered content of value. So I think that's something a lot of people realize is beneficial these days, but I'm thinking back in 2011, that was more novel to do that, like you were talking about the free downloadable stuff. And I think so many people just kind of spam their messages out there trying to get business. So the fact that you were offering something of value, I think probably really set you apart. And then I love that, what you said about kind of targeting a list of therapists that you wanted to work with, and really just going out and meeting them one by one, like just the face-to-face networking, doing the research, who do we want to meet, how can we grow the business. I think these are all great tips for people that are starting out, with their own small business, especially since you, like as you said, you started out with no clients. Yeah, so I wanted to stop you there because I wanted you guys to explain what mediation is, because I still think there's probably a lot of people out there that hear that you have this great alternative and things like that, and they think, what is this? I don't know what mediation is. So tell our viewers what is mediation, and why, if you are going through a time where you think you're going to have a dissolution of marriage, why you should consider it. Yeah.
Okay, sure, I'd be happy to embellish on that. Mediation really, in its barest terms, is a process, is a collaborative-oriented process where a couple comes together and they've made an affirmative choice, an affirmative decision together that they want to end their marriage, whether through separation or divorce. So they may be one or the other instance. And they have to get to that point first, okay? Once they've made that decision, mediation is a process. It's an alternative process to, I'm sure the more traditional one that most of us are familiar with. You get a lawyer, I get a lawyer, and we put up our dukes and go to court, and may the best person win. When I put the word "win" in quotes, because
nobody really wins.
No, and we've heard that before. Mediation then affords them the opportunity to sit down in the presence of a neutral third-party professional mediator, who's not there to represent either spouse in the divorce. The mediator is there to help them facilitate the fairest possible settlement they can achieve outside of court. So mediation does not involve any court whatsoever until the very end when they actually file the paperwork to get the divorce decree. But all the process leading up to that is all done privately behind closed doors, in which they sit with the mediator and a group of other professionals as necessary that we bring into the process, whether they're needing emotional or financial help or support, tax help, tax support. We discover whatever they need, whatever's necessary, and they're sort of cloaked, they're surrounded by these groups of professionals to kind of help them work through all the issues. The mediator's role, as I say, we wear a number of different hats in there. I always tell couples that come in for consult. So one of the first things we do is provide them with sort of a perspective on generally where they stand, in a Pennsylvania divorce. We're not giving them legal advice, but we're just saying, okay, well, this is how alimony works. This is how property division works, equitable distribution in Pennsylvania. So we give them, before they make any decisions whatsoever, we provide that baseline of knowledge that they're going to need to have, because in mediation, they themselves will pull the trigger on all their own decisions. They're charged with that responsibility. The mediator does not make any decisions for them. So I want to make that clear. The mediator does not serve in the role of a judge or an arbitrator or anything like that. We don't put a robe on. We don't do this, nothing like that. We are there, as I say, to kind of educate, navigate, guide these folks through a step-by-step, systematized process, okay, which we employ in our firm, so that we help them to kind of break things down in simple terms, so that they understand step by step, this is how everything works. Okay, we take a hard look at, in my case, at the finances, to make sure what they can afford upon a divorce. We have parenting mediators, or a parenting mediator, Sandy Scher, who works with the couple regarding parenting and custody issues to actually get a written parenting plan in place that will stand the test of time, not only now upon the divorce or separation, but down the line, in which they can also modify that plan legally if necessary. So in a nutshell, that's what mediation is. It's more time efficient, much, much less costly, and just a better way overall to do it if a couple can do it and are appropriate for it.
Great. So I wanted to ask you guys, a little bit about running a business, especially as a husband and wife team. I think a lot of people wouldn't be able to do that. I'm sure it has its benefits and its challenges. So, either of you could answer the question, but, I'd love to know what kind of the best and worst part of that is.
And I know this is the day after Valentine's Day.
Oh, right.
So we're going to go easy. So.
Yeah.
Well, I can give a snapshot, which would be kind of interesting to picture, because even though we meet with clients in office space, a lot of our work is done out of the house, which saves the client money by only using office space when we meet with clients, which I think is another valuable thing that we do. But when we're working out of the house, we're actually in our dining room that turned into an office, and when sometimes we're facing each other. And in the beginning, it used to drive him crazy because I'm a very social person. I like to bounce ideas off people. And I'd be like, I need to ask you this. And a lot of what my job is to pull information out of his head. Pull it out of his head and then break it down so the everyday person can understand it on a 6th grade level. And I think that's where my education, elementary ed undergrad degree comes from, because that's a lot of what I felt like I had done over the past 3 years with creating some of that educational information, taking the legalese. And so I'd always be asking him questions, and it would drive him crazy.
Yeah.
So at one point, we actually had little Post-it notes that said busy on it. Busy.
You just put them on your face,
or on our computer.
Or now we still use, Google Chat, we're right across from each other, and we still have to do that, and we still have to schedule appointments with each other. I make sure we work in different parts of the house.
Okay.
But the other main thing, too, is that we have totally different focuses.
Right.
On a day-to-day basis. So, he works directly with the clients. I do take calls and I speak with clients up front, potential clients, but mostly we're totally separate. I'm focused on the community education, the website, the blog, all of those other things that people who are trying to make this super difficult decision and try to help them step by step, piece by piece, in their thinking, try to arrive at a conclusion of what's best for them, and all before they get to him.
Right.
So, but I'd had to do a lot of that, and that's kind of funny, you know, as far as day to day. And of course, you know, but it's been great. And this wasn't our first sort of venture together. Our past life before we started this was, well, a piece of it was that I'm a songwriter and a vocalist, and he plays guitar. So
does that have any role in how
so
you met?
we wrote music
curious.
together. Yes, that's actually how we met.
Okay, that's a great story.
Okay. How we met. And it's also similar to the whole networking piece, because we originally met online, and people are like, how did you meet him online? And this was back in 2001. And basically, I felt like the more I fixed my profile and focused on my own, you know, who I am and what I do, just like I'm saying with the business, the identity, the better I'm going to attract the right people into my life. So it's kind of the whole law of attraction principle when it comes to networking or even finding a partner.
It's not that different.
I'm a huge believer in that, and so I guess my point is that, you know, working together, we started writing music together in our prior lifetime. So again, coming together on a project, but I focused on lyrics and the melodies and that sort of thing, and then he's, you know, kind of literally like writing the, you know, the music and the different instruments. So we saw we could work well together. So it's shocking that we ended up in this business together, considering career-wise we were so far apart. But when you look back,
it makes more sense.
It's not that surprising.
So tell me about you know, you guys work with a lot of kind of dedicated partners that are a big focus of what you do and help you, you know, do what you do. Yeah. How do you kind of find those partners? How do you vet those partners? I would imagine sometimes people come to you wanting to work with you. You've built this great business, and, you know, maybe sometimes they're not a good fit. Kind of how do you deal with that process?
Yeah. Well, we're actually thinking very hard about that right now.
Okay.
This is something we're thinking about a lot, because in the beginning, you just want to get business. You just want to meet people. We knew therapists were a great, you know, place for us to start as far as partners. But then there's a separation between people who sort of are affiliated and like what we do and want to send people our way because they just feel, you know what, this is a great group of folks. They really know what they're doing. I'm going to send them our way. But on the other hand, there's people that are like, well, I need referrals, and let's exchange referrals back and forth. And sometimes in a networking, you're going to have your group, but you can't network with the whole world.
Right.
So how does that look back and forth? And so I think in terms of vetting, people, the bottom line for starters is that people can't just want to be exchanging referrals. It can't just be about that. It has to be that this person, this partner, potential affiliate, they really care about and are passionate about the fact that they want separation divorce to be a healthier process.
So they have to share your philosophy.
They have to share a philosophy, and we have to like each other.
Sure.
I kind of say that first, that never underestimate the power of just friendship and being friendly. I know that's not used in business very often.
I don't agree with you. I think actually it is. I think you're making a really good point for anybody in business, because I think there is that whole, like, you know, you always hear people do business with people they like and they trust. And, you know, especially for what you're talking about, if you like somebody, you're going to work better with them.
Yeah.
And sometimes somebody can be extremely qualified and well respected at what they do, but you guys just don't kind of jive in the way that you deal with, you know, anything.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that's not somebody that you want like to be a partner that you have to work with day to day.
Exactly. I feel very strongly that we just have to like these people.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great point.
And then there's also folks that are working more intimately with the what we call our My Healthy Divorce mediation process. And so while there can be like a lot of therapists or a lot of financial professionals who are saying, you know, I really like that, but we don't work that closely together, and they're just more aware that this can save, you know, if you're a financial professional, my client thousands of dollars and their retirement won't be gone, and they just get behind that. That's one thing. And then the next level is understanding our model more intimately. And, you know, we have some financial folks and therapists who work more closely with the actual clients who are going through the process. And so there's more communication directly about the client themselves. And we have some divorce coach. Divorce Essentials is another partner, a very close partner of ours. And another thing we do too is we have these monthly support calls that we've been doing for about 2 years.
Tell us, that was one of the things I wanted to have you talk about, what you have coming up, or, what kind of regular things that you offer. And this would be a great time to talk about those monthly calls and anything else that you want to mention.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, a couple main things that we do where we look for folks to kind of be introduced back and forth to one another, and what we do is we have a monthly support call. It's called Preparing for Divorce, and it's around different topics related to separation and divorce. And so we'll have guests on who have a story to tell related to financial information, related to emotional help, parenting help. So it kind of goes in all those 4 areas.
That's a free call.
And that's a free call.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's very easy to just pop on, you're at lunch, even if you're an executive, run a company, just sit on a phone. It's very confidential. And so, that's one way that people can just get more information if they're just trying to think about the process and and get connected with what we're doing. And then secondly, we're actually hosting with some partners. We have a meetup group. That's what I wanted to share.
Okay.
And it's the Philadelphia Professionals Committed to Respectful Divorce. That's the name of our group.
Okay.
It's about 80 folks right now as part of the group, and
That's great.
It's growing. A variety of professionals that a lot of them have their own practice. So again, therapists, financial folks, realtors, home organizer. I mean, it's really a lot of folks who've been through divorce and just feel like an advocate that want to be helping others, coaches. So this group meets every other month.
Okay.
We call it Breakfast and Conversation. So just go on meetup.com and we can get connected that way. And the other thing we have in November coming up, which we're really excited about, is for the first time the meetup group is going to be organizing a symposium, Make Divorce Healthier Symposium. So it's at makedivorcehealthier.org.
Okay.
Put that out there. And really we're trying to multiply ourselves like 10 times to try to find more professionals like ourselves who are really committed to this idea. And we're not waiting for laws to change and so that, the world opens up, even though we see it coming. We have our practices ourselves, and we want to improve what we're doing and find other people that are saying, what, there's got to be a better way to do this.
Yeah.
Let's put our heads together and let's start finding each other, in a bigger way and doing this in a bigger way and kind of opening up the idea of divorcing without court and more peaceful, amicable, more affordable divorce, making that possible for the masses.
So we only have a minute or so left, and I wanted to make sure people know how to reach out and contact you. So please tell our viewers your website or any other contact information you'd like to provide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, our website is myhealthydivorce.com, or you can Google Mainline Family Law Center, so you can find us there, and that's probably the first way to reach us, and that's. Yeah. And like I said, for the symposium, it's makedivorcehealthier.org if that's something of interest as well.
And I assume on your website people can also find out more about the meetup group and the monthly calls that you mentioned.
Oh, right. Exactly.
You want to tell more? There's a community tab, right?
Yeah. I'm such a fan of Google. I mean, literally, you can just Google it. You don't even have to go to our site anymore, right? That's just how it is these days.
Well, thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for all the great information.
Thank you
And
for
please
having
check
us.
them out. And until next time, thanks for watching.